Hello everyone, I'm Zahid from Talks at Innovation Valley, and today we have very amazing guest with us, Katya Fisher. And let me tell you one thing very interesting that Katya has already been on my podcast show last year too. It was amazing episode, but this time we are even coming with an something more interesting and amazing. And you know what? The most interesting thing is that right now she is leading an AI startup. So, Karya, first of all, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be back.
Welcome. And before I move on to anything else, Katya, I would love you to tell my audience what is your background professionally, from where you got your education, and all your journey from your school to this day.
Wow, all my journey. Okay, so let's see. So I'm an attorney. I'm a lawyer by background. I started out with my own law practice straight out of law school. So I have a very kind of funny and unusual background. I was diagnosed with ADHD when I was a kid. And so I always had people in school being like, she's really smart, but sometimes she'll get lost in a book and just we like yell at her and she won't answer, or I would forget to do my homework for weeks, but then on tests I would get straight A's on everything and just really sort of uneven as a kid, sort of this ability because I would get bored really easily, but then when I would get excited about something, I'd be like super focused. And so by the time I was in high school, I had all straight A's, but at the same time, I was just miserable. I was so bored that I went to my parents one day and I said, guys, listen, you know what? I'm never going back. I'm not walking into that building anymore. I'm done. It's so awful and it's so depressing. And I don't want to do it anymore. And so I was really fortunate to have very understanding parents. Because my mom turned to me and said, you know what? Okay, and so we went to the school guidance counselor, and I said, listen, I figured it out. I am in all AP classes, which is like college level courses. I'm just going to go take them at the community college. And I'm just going to go and get my GED diploma, my general education diploma. And like, I'm not going to high school anymore. They told me I had lost my mind. People told me, like, Katya, you're crazy. Like, you're ruining your life. People don't just drop out of high school. They don't do that. And I was like, I'm not going back. I'm just not doing this. So that's what I did. So I went, I took the GED. I didn't study for it. I got a think perfect score. Maybe I got like one question wrong. And I went to community college and then I applied to NYU and I went to NYU. And by the time I was in college, I felt much more comfortable because I was able to take the classes I wanted to take, have the schedule I want to have, right? It was much more interesting. I didn't feel so trapped. And so after that, when I was in college, I was at NYU and I really wanted to be in the music industry. I wanted to be like an impresario because the thing is that at NYU, you have a lot of very famous people from the music industry who went to New York University. And those are all people who went on to do major things like Clive Davis and others. And a lot of them went on to law school and became entertainment lawyers. So that was a big part of my idea was to go ahead and to become an entertainment lawyer, right? And so the thing is that becoming an entertainment lawyer was really something that was on my radar and I was going to go to law school. And so after I graduated from NYU, I was planning to go to law school and to study for entertainment law. And when I went in, I was taking courses like general courses in law, but then I was taking, copyright and entertainment and art law and these types of areas. And my husband actually turned to me and said, Kaita, like, can you just take something useful? Can you just go take like corporate law or tax law? And I'm like, this is not for me. I don't know anything about this stuff. I'm not good at math, right? All of this. And he pushed me. And so luckily I did it. And my best grades turned out to be in corporate law and tax law. And all of a sudden, when I went to corporate law and tax law, I became obsessed. Like, my first class was intro to federal income tax, and it changed my life completely because all of a sudden I understood how the world really works. And so going in there and all of a sudden corporate law, like I loved it. I loved looking at mergers and acquisitions. I loved like real estate tax, just stuff that I never expected would be right for me turned out to be like the perfect click, because suddenly it was complicated enough to keep me interested. Because that's my problem. If something's not super, super complicated, like I figure it out too fast and I don't want to look at it anymore. And so then what happened was that when I was in law school, I had internships, I had jobs, I was working at law firms, and I was really expecting that, my life is going to go a certain way. Like I'm going to go ahead and work at a big law firm and kind of everything is like set out for me. And there were two sort of issues. One was that I went to law school and I started interning at these law firms and I hated them. And I was like, this is not what I had in mind at all, right? It's not what I had in mind at all. I absolutely hate it. I don't want to sit in an office 9 to 5 with like all these legal books, right? This is it. Like it didn't feel like a match. But I was already in law school and I'm already paying for everything, and sort of like I resigned to the idea, Katya, you know what? Like this life, like everybody works. You have to just do it. And then a funny thing happened. I graduated from law school. I took the bar, and I graduated in 2010, and that was in the throes of the Great Recession. And because of that, a lot of my job offers just went off the table. A lot of employers who had been looking to recruit law students, they were like, we're not hiring this year. And all of a sudden, I'm like, now what am I going to do, right? And so I was applying for jobs, but they were jobs that were not my dream job, not high paying, just not what I expected coming out of law school. And at some point, I thought to myself, you know what? I'm just going to start my own law practice. I've always been good at figuring things out. I've always been very, good at just doing things that people tell me I'm crazy and that I've lost my mind. And I just said, that's what I'm going to do. And so I started my own law practice straight out of law school. Very unusual, especially in those days. And this is before, you have to understand, like people just started to have smartphones at the time. There wasn't a lot of, people weren't like promoting themselves on social media the way that they do now. When you see lawyers on like Instagram and TikTok, uh, people still expected that for a lawyer, you have a very formal office and law books and all of this. And I just went for it. And I started out really just pitching to my friends and people I knew, and sort of young people who were also entrepreneurial, saying, hey, I'm happy to do legal work for you, and obviously offering things at a very low cost and all of that. And I spent all my time in law libraries. Like I would spend the weekend in Midtown in New York. There's a really beautiful law library, and I would just hang out there on Saturdays and read books and try to teach myself as much as I could. Or I would meet senior lawyers, or I would sit on committees with the Bar Association in New York and try to learn from other attorneys and just get support wherever I could. And it snowballed. And before I knew it, I was counseling larger companies and bigger companies. And then suddenly I was external general counsel for a cybersecurity company, and I'm working with, some very big names, and I'm doing all kinds of like really interesting corporate work and all this different stuff. And from there, I ended up having like a fairly lucrative legal practice, which was a kind of funny one. Like I would just be sort of an end-to-end external GC. So most lawyers, they're very specialized, right? They're like, I'm a tax lawyer, I'm a criminal lawyer, I'm a art lawyer, whatever. And I was kind of like, hey, you know what? I'm the lawyer that you need me to be today. Obviously, within reason. I never did anything with litigation. I didn't do criminal. But when it came to business, I would say, look, I'm going to set you up end to end, and I'm not going to tell you not to work with other lawyers. We're going to go together to big law firms. But you don't know when those big law firms are BSing you. You don't know when those big law firms, and they bring like 13 lawyers on a call, and they're like, oh, you need to talk to this one and this one, and they give you some kind of outrageous quote, and they explain to you that only they carry the secrets to all the knowledge and information, and if you don't use them and if you don't work with them, then you're going to ruin everything. Sometimes that's actually true. I don't knock very experienced lawyers. Sometimes it's really true. Sometimes I think people are too cheap where they dismiss lawyers and don't realize how complicated something can be. And sometimes it's not. And that's my superpower, right? Is understanding the legal industry so well that I was able to go to the clients and say, no, 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 no. You need to listen to this guy. You need to pay this money. You need to do this. Don't cheap out on this. But something else, be like, this is a waste of your time. Don't do that. Or say, hey, you know what? These two lawyers, they're thinking about this and this. They're not thinking about this other thing that we need to figure out. And that was what really made me powerful as an attorney and as a business person. And that's how I was able to get clients, because I was creating value. So I ended up then rolling my practice into a big law firm. I became a partner in a big law firm. I was leading a technology transactions practice because I was working with a lot of tech entrepreneurs, a lot of tech companies. At the time, actually, a lot of companies in blockchain and crypto as well. And I was also the privacy officer for the law firm itself. So that law firm was actually my client. And that was the year that GDPR came into effect. So we were doing a lot of data privacy policy changes within the firm. We went through ISO certification standards. I worked very closely with the CTO of the law firm, the chief technology officer, right, and chief compliance officer and general counsel of the law firm. And then from there, I went in-house to Constructor. So by the time I came to Constructor Group, I already had this like crazy wealth of knowledge and experience in all these disparate places, right? So Constructor Group, as you know very well, Zahid, you're very familiar with Constructor Group, was founded by Serge Bell. He's a very prolific entrepreneur and investor. He has built many technology companies over time. Many of them have hit unicorn status, and he's been very successful. And he really decided to go ahead and build this ecosystem called Constructor Group, which would be focusing on education and science and technology, and a way to kind of bring in also sort of everything he's accumulated throughout his amazing career in terms of knowledge, people, expertise, all of this. So Constructor Group is comprised of several different areas. One is that we have education. So on the education side, we have Constructor Institute, which is a nonprofit institution in Schaffhausen, Switzerland. We have a university in Germany, Constructor University, which is based out of Bremen, Germany, which is a full campus. It's an English-speaking campus. It has, I think, around 1,800 students. We have a software company called Constructor Technology, which is all of the background platform for education and research. So that's about, I think, around 300 people working in that company, doing a lot of really interesting things across so many disciplines for education and research. And then we have Constructor Capital, which is a venture fund that invests in the future of ed tech, AI, quantum computing, and other deep technologies. So I oversee legal for the group. I have for the past almost 6 years. I built a legal team inside of Constructor Group. I've worked now in about 10 countries. We do a lot all over the world. I helped with the acquisition of Constructor University. So Constructor University actually was a university in Bremen, Germany, that was called Jacobs University or Jacobs University in Bremen. And a few years ago, we actually acquired it and renamed and rebranded the university and brought in our talent and know-how and expertise. So when we were doing the acquisition, all of the legal, I was working with external counsel in Germany, obviously, but I was running that. And after we acquired the university, I stepped in as the managing director of legal and people. So all of human resources, all of the legal matters of the institution, they were under me. I was traveling to Germany quite frequently. And now I'll get to Aracor, because I know I've been talking for a long time and explaining a lot, but you said you wanted everything, so here it is. What happened was that I, over the course of my career, working first with really small startups and then growing to working with like really big companies. And obviously, I represent Serge as well. And in his family office, we have over 300 companies in the portfolio. So I'm asked to step in all the time with things that aren't just Constructor Group. I just have this incredible bird's eye view of so much. And I started really thinking about the things that I do every day and my legal team does every day that could be automated. And also, in the same way that I used to work with clients, thinking about where external law firms are really adding value and where they're really kind of not adding value as much as one might think. I started thinking about that in terms of software and how I could automate a lot of the things that I do and my team does and create even more value across my companies. So that's how Aracor was born. And I'll just stop for a second, see if you have any questions from there before we jump into that.
All right, super, super amazing, Katya. Let me tell you, what an amazing journey, and what a huge wealth of knowledge you collected and accumulated in last many, many years, that you're putting, all your experience in your new product, Aracor AI. So, Katya, can you please little bit tell little bit brief more what actually Aracor AI is, what pain points Aracor AI is fixing,
Mhm.
and how the legal firms can use this product.
Absolutely. So Aracor is looking at several pain points. So first of all, our strategy is to build a platform strategy. We want to be able to offer software products that go sort of across all of the different areas that an in-house legal team or other lawyers might need when it comes to corporate law, business law, and private equity. So again, my background is not litigation, my background is not criminal law. I'm sure there's a lot that the product could offer to attorneys and people working in these other industries, but it's not my core focus. My core focus is really as follows. There are several things that I do in my job all day, every day. The first biggest one is reviewing very, very, very complex documents. But when I say that, a lot of people are like, oh, well, I can just go to ChatGPT, right? Like anybody can just review a complicated document and get a summary. No, you can't. When I take a look at complex documents, for me, reviewing like a 10-page contract is not that big of a deal. My issue is that most of the time, I'm looking at thousands of pages of documents to come up with solutions to very complex problems. So, what do I mean by that? First of all, just obvious ones. Due diligence when we're looking at an investment or acquisition deal or a merger. So we get into a deal room and there's all kinds of data, all kinds of documents, right? There can be like several hundred employees working in a company, and we have to do the diligence on all of those employment documents. Make sure, did everybody sign an IP assignment agreement? Are there any anomalies? Are there any red flags? We have to look at all the investment agreements, loan agreements, corporate governance, and see what's missing and look through all of that. And that's something that traditionally is done often by in-house teams, but actually quite frequently by law firms as well. It's a big part of their sort of bread and butter. But all of that work is usually passed on to associates. It's not partner level work. You get a lot of sort of first year, second year, third year associates whose job it is to review all of these complex documents and create reports and distribute that. And so a big part of what our tool does is it's able to go ahead and upload many, 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 many documents all at the same time and get instant reports and instant access to information and be able to find where that information is and look at something holistically. So that means, first of all, like with employment agreements, I can upload tons of employment agreements, get a red flag report instantly, and then I can dig in more to go ahead and see if there's something specific that I want to look at further, right? I believe in a human in the loop. Like I said, I believe in lawyers. It's just speeding everything up exponentially and also sometimes finding things that like the human eye can miss, right? So there's that sort of thing. Corporate governance is very complicated because when you look at corporate governance, it's not, let's say, 100 of the same thing. Employment agreements can be 100 of the same thing. But corporate governance, it's bylaws, shareholder agreements, side letters, amendments, right? Cap table, all this stuff together. So we worked on creating an AI tool that understands it the way somebody in my legal team understands those types of materials. So that way, whenever we do due diligence, we're able to save so much time and so much money going ahead and creating those reports using AI. We don't have to rely on external counsel anymore. Our tool can do it in many languages. So we've had success like looking at companies in Turkey and Italy and Germany and Bulgaria and other places as well, where even if we're working with counsel, local counsel in those places, we're much more informed and much smarter than we ever used to be because of the fact that we're able to look at these things in house and know what it is that we're looking at, right? So that's a big part of what Aracor does, and I think that's what Aracor does better than anybody else. Because of the fact that we want to have a complete product, we have some other solutions as well. So we have a tool that does redlining and markup of contracts. You can create your own playbook, or you can have our team create preset playbooks whereby there's certain negotiation positions, right? So for example, if you want to look at non-disclosure agreements or master services agreements or whatever it is, and you say, look, for us, the choice of law is always going to have to be, let's say Zahid, it's for you, Pakistan, right? We're not going to litigate anywhere else. I can program that into the AI so that every contract that comes into you, you click a button, it's going to check the contract to make sure that the choice of law is Pakistan. And if not, it will redline it and mark it up for you. So those are some of the things that we do. Again, I'll stop here, see if you have more questions.
All right. So I have a question. For example, if there is a law firm from Pakistan, uh, they upload some kind of agreement, and then they ask to the Aracor AI, okay, review this agreement and let us know what things are favorable and what are unfavorable for us, keeping in view the Pakistani law and everything in Pakistan, the legal framework and the laws and the sub laws and everything. So my question is, uh, how do you guys in the product has ensured that all the laws and sub laws and contexts are there in your technology, in your algorithms and the platform, that they are comparing that agreement to those laws? I mean, have you uploaded the laws and every legal stuff of 200 countries in your product? What?
No,
Crazy.
absolutely not. So a couple things, right? So first of all, I like to work in areas where I know I can succeed and I know I can win. Big thing about being a corporate lawyer, honestly, when you're in-house, you don't actually do a lot of legal research. There is legal research, like don't get me wrong, right? We do things in different countries, and sometimes we have to look up local regulations and laws, or there's different areas if we're doing, I don't know, immigration law or something else. This tool is not meant for that. This tool is really meant for review and negotiation. And the thing is that when you work in corporate law, private equity, venture capital, you're not really doing that much legal research. There's a little bit, but most of it is more business oriented. So for example, if we're doing venture deals, I'll give you an example like what the tool can do incredibly well. Let's say I have a term sheet to close on an investment, and then a counterparty sends me all of the closing documents to close the investment, right? The shareholder agreement and all of that. I can throw it in together with the term sheet, and I can ask Aracor, can you please compare the term sheet to these documents and tell me if it matches? And within 30 seconds, I will instantly get a report. Yes, this matches the term sheet. No, this doesn't. Here are the areas where the language is wrong, right? So then I can go ahead, I could use the Aracor redline feature actually to then mark it up further. But I also, as an attorney, as a human in the loop, I can come in and then I can figure out how to make those changes and do those things. Because of the way that our AI works, you can ask certain like basic questions. You can get basic knowledge. You can always ask the tool, what are the terms here that are unusual or not standard in the industry? You can ask, other general sort of legal principles. You can ask for links to external websites that have access to legal research, right? We still want it to be a complete tool that can be very, very useful. But I will tell you that there are other tools out there that I think focus a lot on the laws of a certain jurisdiction. And we've been focusing more on negotiation and review because even that alone is a huge, huge, huge money pit for companies, not just in-house legal teams. I mean, a lot of companies, a lot of investment firms that don't even have in-house legal teams, right? Like I'll give you an example. I used to have a situation where, let's say, we would have some very, very complex question on a major shareholder's investment in a Series D company, right? Who I represent. And we would want to know something like, oh, can I do this without the consent of the other shareholders, or whose approvals do I need to get, et cetera. That kind of a question will cost you $20,000 with an outside American law firm because you have to send the zip folder of all the documents. They're going to take a week and they're going to bill you for like 15 hours of their time because they're going to not use a senior partner to review those documents. It's going to be a junior associate who will be doing all the reading, looking through, checking, go back to the senior partner, then the senior partner checks. Easy $20,000. And I'm very used to in my career, like approving those $20,000 deals all the time. I can do that stuff in 2 minutes now. And so for me, trying to figure out how to, put all the laws of the world into Aracor, it's not necessary. There's other tools out there. There's other ways to get access to do legal research for certain things. I'm focusing on solving a very specific problem. Sahid, I apologize. You seem to be on mute.
Sorry. So, right, there is, for example, there is a startup founder, and he is going into partnership with another company. So, do you think to draft an agreement, partnership agreement, he does not need now a lawyer, and once the draft is ready, he can upload that to review it? Like, I mean, I just want to understand now, the startups and companies, they don't need the human lawyers at end of.
No, that's not true at all. So first of
Okay.
all, Aracor is not legal advice. Legal advice comes from human lawyers, right? This is information. This is a way to become more informed and better at what you do. Our core audience is in-house legal teams in companies. So it's other general counsels, it's other legal counsels inside of mid-sized companies, SaaS companies, venture funds, private equity funds, so that they don't have to rely on outside law firms. This tool is very useful for people in business as well. Like we've had a lot of success with CFOs or partners in venture funds who want to become more knowledgeable, who want to understand exactly what it is that they're looking at. Because a lot of the time, it's a very gray area between business and legal when you're working in those fields. But absolutely, this is not a B2C product. This is not meant for some young startup founder to think that, he doesn't need a lawyer anymore. What we can do is, for example, if you're a business person and you have a startup, and let's say you're dealing with a lot of the same type of contract over and over. Let's say you're like, oh, I have all these sales agreements, right? And I'm constantly having to negotiate the sales agreement. What Aracor is really useful for is you can get a lawyer to basically create your playbook and program it into Aracor so that every time a sales contract comes in, you don't need to hire a lawyer to review it. You could automate that process, right? Because that first look was already done by lawyers. So Aracor can definitely be useful for that. Aracor can definitely make you much smarter so that you can be very, very specific when you go to your lawyer. You can say, listen, I put this through, I reviewed it, it seems like these are the red flags. Can you look at just these red flags? Right? You can kind of direct your lawyer a little bit more. But the idea that this just gets rid of lawyers, no way. That's why I keep saying human in the loop, co-intelligent solution. This is about taking people and just making them supercharged, right? Getting them to be able to be much more efficient and work much better.
All right. As a founder, Suppose I raise fund, I receive the term sheet. Now
Mhm.
I want to see what things are favorable for me as a founder and what not. So my question is, when I upload that term sheet to the Aracor AI, I want to understand how Aracor decides what is favorable and what is not. I mean, how it compares.
Yeah, so Aracor is really useful for that, actually. Aracor is great for that first look. You could upload the
Mhm.
term sheet and you could absolutely say, I am a founder. Tell me what here is, insufficiently in my favor, right? What's favorable for me, what's overly favorable for the other party, what are the things I could look at, what are the things I could negotiate, right? And you could ask something like, what would be the sort of like a very kind of reasonable pushback on my side or aggressive? You would have to ask those things because obviously the AI might give you like very, very sort of aggressive pushback in terms of red flags, but you could ask to do that and to be more reasonable. So it's really useful for that for sure.
Right. So I have ChatGPT, I have Google Gemini, and many
Mhm.
more bots. Why I will use Aracor AI and why not the other global chatbots? What is the difference?
Sure. So there's a lot of differences. All right. So many. So first of all, with regard to the UI, just the user interface alone, let's just start from the beginning. We'll go down. So user interface, if you upload a document into ChatGPT, you're going to have several issues. The first thing is you can't see the document. So any information that ChatGPT gives you, you still have to open the document and read it, right? For legal documents, like it's useless because then you still have to go and read. The second issue that you're going to have is that there's file size problems and there's a lot of OCR issues. So in the real world, documents have signatures, documents have stamps, documents have apostilles, documents are old and crumpled or have a stain on them or poorly scanned or it's a photograph, etc. Our OCR is best in class. So our ability to just look at documents, real world documents, very large volumes of documents is unparalleled. So that's number one. We can even read handwriting. I just did a demo for somebody where we read 200 pages worth of handwritten notes. No problem. So that's a huge, huge differentiator, first. The second one is that when you use those AI tools, I always try to tell people, like in layman's terms, think of these LLMs, they're a base layer, right? Think of large language models like ChatGPT or Gemini or what have you as like a really smart college freshman. Is somebody who's really smart, but not as smart as he or she thinks, right? Doesn't know anything, just knows like a lot about a little bit. It's not specialized, it's not specific. So if you go and you upload a document and you say, summarize this for me, every summary is always going to be different. And sometimes you're going to get an amazing summary. And sometimes, most of the time, you're going to get a useless one. And so the thing is that you'll have to then prompt it and be like, no, I want a summary with this. And I want to, by the time you're done prompting, you may as well have just read the document yourself. We trained Aracor to look at documents the way somebody in my legal team looks at a document. So we have something called one-click summary. The first thing is most of the time, I'm not even looking for complex stuff. Like most of the time, if I have a document or I have a folder of documents, whatever it is, I want to go to somebody in my legal team and just be like, can you just tell me what this is real quick? Somebody wants you to sign something. They're like, can you sign this contract? Okay, but what does it say? Right? And so a lot of the times I just want to know information, one click. You press a button, it'll give you a summary just like somebody in a legal team would. Does that mean that the summary has all the answers to every question you could possibly have? No, just like a human, it's going to be a summary, right? And then you're going to go ahead and be able to prompt after that and ask more specific questions and probe deeper. But the thing is that Aracor already just adds instant value just with that one click. Because you could upload, I can upload like 1,000 pages, 10 documents into a due diligence folder, one click, get a full overview of what I'm looking at in multiple languages. So that's the next really big thing. Obviously, our security stack is a little different than if you work directly with these LLMs, right? Privacy and security, I think, is such a huge issue when it comes to working with AI. Also, dealing with GDPR, the EU AI Act. I mean, we want it to be a tool that people could use in different jurisdictions and that they wouldn't be hindered by certain data privacy rules, and they would feel that their materials are safe and secure. So we have a very, very strong, very complex security stack as well. And then the last thing I would say is the red line feature, the ability to mark up documents. You're not going to get that in a regular LLM. You're not going to be able to just plug in AI into Microsoft Word and ask it to, change the contract for you. Then last but not least, I said that was last, but this is really last. We built our own small language model. So we have the Aracor SLM. Even though we do work with other AI tools on the back end, the Aracor SLM is a way for us to offer best in class OCR. We offer a redaction feature that can redact and encrypt sensitive data through the Aracor SLM. And we're also able to deploy privately. So if we have customers that are not comfortable working with cloud tools and want to be able to deploy on private servers, we can offer that capability as well. And then over time, we expect that the Aracor SLM will just become powerful and better than working with LLMs for these types of issues, because it will be so specific and so well trained in the areas that we're looking at.
All right. So, have you guys integrated like the existing APIs too, or have you come with your own stuff only? Like, have you used some kind of other technologies in your technology?
So we work with Microsoft Azure, right? We have tested out every LLM that you can think of, from, Mistral and Llama and OpenAI and Claude and Gemini and everything else. So we have all of those things that we've worked with on the back end to see sort of what's valuable for us and what isn't. These are all tools, right? So we definitely do work with third-party tools, but we have a lot that we built in-house. My chief technology officer, Leslie, he actually was a leader for natural language processing at AstraZeneca. And so he worked in the healthcare industry. He's been working on the cutting edge of artificial intelligence, specifically natural language processing. I have another AI engineer whose last company that she worked at was actually sold and acquired by DocuSign. So I've been extremely fortunate that in our engineering team, we have people who are amazing and who really, really, really understand legal tech and contracts and really understand the cutting edge of AI and how to incorporate and what to use and what to do. Our roadmap right now for Q1 of 2025 is we're building out our own API, because we've gotten a lot of requests from other tech companies that want to use our tool inside of their platforms. So that's something that's coming up around the corner, actually.
Wow, that's great, and many many congratulations that you guys are going to have another product like your AI. I mean, sorry, API. Great. So, Katya, what are the reasons behind too much legal fees, and specifically which are the industries where there are too much legal fees, and how using Aracor AI someone could cut the costs without compromising on the quality?
Sure. So, as I was saying earlier in this conversation, a lot of, I think, depends who I'm talking to, right? So, a lot of first time founders and kind of early stage business people, they don't have a lot of experience working with legal. And so they think that they can just slash the costs on everything. And like, who needs lawyers? It's a waste of time. And I can pull this off the internet. I want to reiterate that is not true. Like, even though AI is moving at lightning pace, you need to have the right experts around you, and making mistakes with legal can cost you crazy money down the road. However, that being said, when we take a look at a lot of the things that more junior lawyers are doing in big firms, a lot of that stuff can be automated. And obviously, there are law firms that are looking at using automation and figuring out ways to work better and work faster as well. The whole industry is sort of looking at this from different ways. I'm looking at it from the perspective of in-house lawyer, from the perspective of how to benefit the client. I really care about the client, right? Because one issue with big law firms, okay, they're going to incorporate AI tools. Are they going to pass those savings on to the client? Are they just going to figure out ways to make up for those bills and in some other way. I don't know the answer to that. But a lot of times, just money is spent reviewing pieces of paper and telling you what they say. That's not strategic legal advice. That's not telling you what you should do, right? If I give you a report saying, Zahid, I just took a look at this company that you want to invest in, right? Or this business deal that you want to do, and I read this 100 pages of very complicated paper, and here I'm summarizing it for you. This is what it says, or this is the open item issues. That's not advice. I'm just telling you information. But that's a lot of what lawyers do and what they charge for. So you can jump over that, get that information, and then go to a lawyer and say, with this information I have, give me advice. Tell me what to do.
All right. So, Katya, can you please share some success stories or use cases where you guys helped a legal firm and they saved a lot of cost and time?
So we in Constructor Group use Aracor in everything we do inside the legal team. So every single investment deal that we've done for Constructor Capital in the past year, we automated the entire review process of doing the diligence to go through the documents. All of the M&A deals that we did with Constructor Technology this year, all of the sales agreements, MSA agreements, all of the non-disclosure agreements, Aracor does all of them across the entire group of companies. So we've saved hundreds of thousands of dollars just by doing that alone. We also are being used by many outside companies as well. So we have a lot of users. Soon I'll be showing use cases publicly and talking about who we're working with. I'm not sure I'm quite ready to just yet, but we have a lot of very major venture funds, private equity funds. We work with some boutique law firms that want to work with us as well. We're in a sandbox with an attorney general's office in one of the states in the United States where we have AGs who are working as well using Aracor. So obviously we've done a lot of savings. It's not just about cost savings. It's also about just making people smarter and faster and more efficient. And I would say that that's something that we've definitely been able to resolve that for many users of the product.
All right. So, Katya, couple of more questions in one go,
Sure.
and I have one last question after this question too. So, no worries. So, how do you see the future of Aracor AI? I mean, right now you have a certain features on this product, human. I don't know what is your version, maybe 1.0 or 1.1 or 2.0. I don't know. But how do you see the future of Aracor AI? How do you see the future of due diligence in the future? And how do you see that technology, where the technology further will be helping in the diligence and all the processes involved in the legal tech space?
Sure. So there, I see so much. I have so many ideas. I'm on fire all the time, constantly with ideas for product, things that I want to build out, etc. Again, we're sitting on the cutting edge of AI, and these tools are moving so fast, so rapidly. What's available to us, the things that the technologies can do is changing all the time. So certain things that we have in our product, like my engineering team and I, we already know what we're going to be doing in 6 months from now, in a year from now, as the tech comes in, that will even replace some of the things that we have currently, just because it's all coming down the pipeline. The goal here is to create a really comprehensive platform that lawyers can use and that becomes sort of their main go-to when they're doing deals, when they're doing legal work. So ultimately, we're going to be integrated with all the most standard document management systems, right? So right now we even have it already with SharePoint and OneDrive, but we'll set it up with Box.com and Dropbox and Google Drive, et cetera, so that basically Aracor is just one sort of smooth process for people who are working with a lot of documents and document management systems. We will have e-signature inside. We'll deal more with the tools that have to do with redlining, contract drafting, contract review. We will eventually go ahead and improve our research capabilities and legal research, right? A big thing of the security and privacy layer is always going to be a core focus of ours, because the way that I see it is because this AI is improving like crazy every minute. A lot of the things that we have now, it's all going to be obsolete. ChatGPT is like such a big deal right now. I don't even think ChatGPT is going to be such a big deal in the future, because I'm very bullish on open source tools. And so I think over time, open source will take over in AI the way that it has in other areas of software. And so a lot of these things will change, but the need for security and good privacy controls will never change. Actually, it will just increase with time. So having that basic platform is critical to us. And then the last is, I don't know if you're familiar with this company, but in the United States, the biggest company for tax preparation software is called Intuit. And so Intuit has a series of software products that are used by accountants of all sizes, like major corporations, small businesses, individuals, and it's also used by individuals and by businesses. And so people don't ask the way that they do with LegalTech right now, like, oh, is it for lawyers or is it for the client? Is it for, this or is it for that? With Intuit products, it's for everyone to collaborate and work better together. I want to be the Intuit of legal technology.
All right, Katya, an interesting question. Since I see that you are not a technical guy, you're not a technical person,
Yeah,
but still you are running and managing a very, very high tech AI startup. How? I mean, how
I don't know.
being the non tech founder, you established such a great AI product? I mean, there are many founders who think they cannot establish an AI product if they are not technical, like if they are not masters in computer science or they don't know how to code. Your thoughts?
So there's three reasons, right? Reason number one is because of the fact that I'm the vice chairman of Constructor Group, and I work alongside some of the best technologists in the world. So I'm very, very lucky. I'm very fortunate. I have a startup that's couched inside of a very, very powerful ecosystem. And I have so many amazing advisors. I mean, if you take a look at the engineering team that runs Constructor Tech, right? If you take a look at Serge himself, who's, my partner and co-founder in all of this, I have so many resources and so many people to advise me, help me, support me along the way, and look for things. So I'm very grateful for that, and obviously that's a big part of our success. The second is my own engineering team. So I have an incredible CTO. I have incredible engineers in the team. I love the people who are working inside of Aracor. They're so passionate, they're so dedicated, they're so excited to be sitting on the cutting edge of all of this stuff. So obviously they teach me all the time. That's a big part of it as well. So you definitely need to have the right people around you. If you're not a technical person, you got to find the right technical people. You have to find them and be able to move forward with them and to trust them, right? And to build that trust with them. I would say the third part is this: confidence and belief in yourself, and that you can learn anything. So a big thing for me was that all these years that I was building out legal teams and HR teams and, Constructor University and flying around the world and all of this, I had a lot of confidence. I guess just instilled in me from a young age, and also just from always kind of being entrepreneurial and building businesses, right? I've gained it over many years of fending for myself. When I started building Aracor, I'll be totally honest, I didn't have the same level of confidence that I normally do. Not when it came to building software. I felt like, what do I know, right? So I would listen to everybody around me, and I would listen to advice, and but like too much. It's good to have advice, but like you have to know when to not take advice as much as you have to know when to take advice, right? And so I was kind of very hands off in terms of product and tech and all that. And I was looking around, and like in the beginning, I saw my team just wasn't super happy, right? And things weren't moving quickly. And it was really uncomfortable for me because I'm not used to that. I'm actually used to, sounds kind of egotistical, but like I'm used to people in my teams loving working with me. I'm used to things like just happening and being great, and I'm fairly competent at leadership and growth and helping people and mentoring them. And I just saw like it's sort of like a wilted flower, right? And then I thought of it, and I was like, Kaita, you know what the difference is this time between everything else? It's not that you don't know the tech. It's that you're not taking over. Like you're not stepping up and being the real CEO because you're sitting back too much and hoping that other people are going to figure things out. So I became, as obsessive in Aracor as I am in everything else in my life. And so I spend as much time as possible trying to learn AI, understand software teams, understand the roles, understand what I have to build, understand what's missing, etc. And look, we live in an age, besides the fact that I have all these great mentors, we live in an age where like you can go to ChatGPT or Google or whatever to get help and ask questions, right? And you can ask questions from your team and you can probe and you can push and you can test. And so I will say that for the past year, I was really the CTO of Aracor and the chief product officer. I haven't focused my time on marketing and sales and being outward the way that I am in 2025 because I was so focused on the product, especially because in legal tech, not only are we dealing with the fact that this isn't just software, this is deep tech, right? This is cutting edge AI, but we're dealing with legal stuff. So you have to have so much industry knowledge as well. And if I'm not going to do it, like who's going to do it? So I was with my tech team on Zoom calls every single day. I was testing the product nonstop. My team even told me that I would make an amazing hacker because I was always like coming up with different tests. They would tell me like, "Oh, we built this new thing. It's amazing. You're going to love it." And I'd be like, "Yeah, let's see," right? And I would test it and like break the system all the time. And so it was amazing. It was so much fun for me. I learned so many new skills. I'm still not, a software engineer by any stretch of the imagination, but like I get it and I understand it and I see it. And because I see it now and I get it, I've built something I'm really proud of. And I feel comfortable sort of letting, my CTO was just promoted recently and having him kind of step up in terms of leading the tech team so that I can go to the next level with Aracor, which is show the world what we've built.
All right, Katya, I would say many, many congratulations. What you have done, what your team has done. Say congratulations from my side. In the last, Katya, entrepreneurship, building startups, building products is something very, very challenging. You don't know what to do next.
Oh yeah.
What would you like to advise to the uh, current entrepreneurs around the globe when they face challenges? I mean, any inspiring advice, anything that could inspire the university students, the young entrepreneurs, and anybody who wants to come into this challenging area, which is solving the problems of the people around the globe.
Don't be scared.
Wow.
That's it. Just don't be scared.
But how? It's
You just gotta
natural.
push yourself. You gotta push yourself. Listen, every single day is a challenge, right? Every single day is filled with so many ups and downs and so many challenges. And I have a very thick skin, I think, just from being a lawyer. I've dealt with so many dramas, scandals, legal issues, problems, um, all kinds of stuff, disputes, right, over the years that I developed like a very, very, very thick skin to dealing with criticism, problems, challenges for me, because I already know at my age, I'm an old lady. Like I know. It's just it's like today is down, tomorrow is up, and then it's down. Like just you have to keep going, right? But the biggest thing is just even if you are scared, just keep pushing. Like for example, even people are scared to be pushy. People are scared to kind of go for what they want. People get discouraged very easily, right? Or they say, "Oh, I could never do that," or "I could never be that." Yeah, you can, but you just have to keep working at it, and you will fail, and you will humiliate yourself like 100 times, but fail fast. The second you fail, you stand up and you go again.
All right. Thank you very much, Katya, for coming to the show. And, it was really, really amazing and inspiring episode with you. And I would say this episode would be a very, very great use case and story for the other entrepreneurs looking for building a next great product, especially in the legal space, in legal tech space. I hope that the entrepreneurs from around the globe and from my audience, they can learn a lot from this success story of you, which is still in the process. And
Yeah.
we are going to see amazing things from Katya and from your team and from the Aracor AI. Thank you so much for coming and thank you for joining the show.
Say thank you so much. Always a pleasure.
Be with me because